Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of UWA Behind the Chains. I'm Selena, here with my partner in crime, T. Here with us today.
Hi.
Here with us today is Shane, Shane, not Shane, who you all know as Sentinel.
One like the other two doesn't have a case of the giggles right now.
Yes. One would think we're a bunch of drunk girls, right?
Right.
No, you're speaking clearly.
Am I? Oh, how is everyone today?
I am fantabulous.
Swell.
I'm good too. Hell.
As I sit here and spill some of my pomegranate green tea everywhere.
Well, that's smart.
Right?
So smart.
Shut your face.
Okay, first off, I'm going to get my stalker question out of the way. Where do you live, Shane?
Did we lose him?
I don't know.
No, I was just told the screen. No, I live in Clinton, Iowa.
Cool.
Like 2 miles away from me, and our lovely Fedhead Chris, who happens to be my short-armed T-Rex dinosaur other half.
We use the term lovely loosely.
And in the background I hear, what the fuck did you just call me? Apparently he missed the episode, which was our first one, where I said that living with him is like that living with that T-Rex from the one movie with the short arms and the big head, and not sure how well this plan was thought out.
You just paint such a vivid picture.
Okay.
Next question's yours too.
Yes. Next question is, how long have you been e-fetting, and how did you get into it?
As far as how I got into it, you can blame Chris for that. But I've been playing on and off for almost 6 years.
Nice.
Oh, pardon me.
And another country heard from. Next one's yours, Miss Selena.
It is indeed. Okay, what people have you worked with in the Fed, and who have you enjoyed working with the most?
Well, working with T has been interesting because I've gotten to see her just starting out in this game, watch how she's progressed from being pretty much completely new to it to becoming the first champion of the group, which is pretty impressive.
That it is.
Many of the people who are currently active right now I have not against, at least not here. Some of them I have worked with elsewhere, like Kyle Travis, for instance, and Sangreal, and Amy Singh.
Cool.
Alrighty, and who is your favorite character in the Fed currently?
Besides myself? No, I kid.
You can't?
Wow, pick the favorite character? I'm gonna have to go with McBride. He keeps things interesting, whether you like him or not. When he's on the screen, quote unquote, pay attention.
Right. Because he's not a creepy fucker to begin with.
You know what? If I had a couple more inches of beard and a full tropical shirt, I could be him.
True enough.
There you go.
And actually, Selena, I totally stole your question, so if you want to do the question above that one.
Oh, it's fine. We'll just skip that one. I'll ask it. Who do you want to work with in the future?
Well, I wouldn't turn my nose up working with anyone in the group right now. There's one that direct out aside from McBride. But I'm care since I wouldn't mind going against him and seeing what he can do.
Cool.
Alrighty. Who is your favorite character of your own and why?
I'm going to have to go with Eric on that one. He was the first one I created, albeit under a different name. And he's gone through the most development out of them all. He's the most well-rounded character that I have. A lot of characters that I've played have some kind of link to him storyline-wise. And much of his formative period in the first 8 months of his creation came from me and Chris just brainstorming and coming up with weird connections between our characters, and it's brought him to this point. He's also one of the more difficult characters that I have to play, because giving any less than my best with him is completely unacceptable.
Alrighty.
Cool.
I actually got to say, I kind of seen that answer coming.
Me too.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I love playing Sentinel, but he's actually my second longest loved character. But he's challenging in a different way.
It's got to be challenging to write a character that doesn't speak. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where, how do you do that? You know, in the world of roleplay, it's hard enough to play a character with an impediment like that. You know, so
when Sentinel started, I played him in a dice fed, so there was no posting promos on message boards or anything like that. You just sat in the chat room, and when it came time, you rolled your dice to see what happened. And from the start, he has always been silent. But in a dice fed, it's a lot easier to be quiet. You just have to be able to describe what you're doing. He is a challenge, not being one to speak, but I find that he also gets some of the best reactions from other players in feds. Mm-hmm. Because what do you make of a guy who sits through all of his opponent's trash talk and doesn't give them any retort? It's also a challenge to work against him, because what can you say back to silence?
True enough.
You can make jokes, you can make insults, but at the end of the day, who looks the fool more often than not?
Very true, very true. Miss Selena?
Yes?
You were next.
I know.
Lost your spot for a second.
Who, in your opinion, is the best role player in the Fed?
Put me on the spot here. Best role player in the Fed? All around?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Usually when I get questions like this, I break it down to what they're good at. What they're good at over the others in terms of specific attributes, but you can't argue against Erin because she's got the world title.
This is true.
I may like certain aspects of other people's work better than hers. I may think other people do certain things better than she does. But Chris and I have always held to the belief that if you've got the title around your waist, fictional or otherwise, that means you're the best until someone takes it from you.
Which no one succeeded in that yet.
And make no bones about it, if I come back to play, I'm looking to get that title. That's a big if right now, but if.
And if I still have it when you come back, I gladly look forward to it.
you've never gone at it one-on-one, I think it would be an interesting sight to see.
Touché. Okay, what people from the Fed do you talk to a lot outside of the Fed?
Outside of YouTube?
Yeah.
Chris, obviously. Photographer Bob and I correspond pretty frequently outside of the game. I haven't really spoken personally to many people who are active in the group right now. Used to with Kyle Travis, but that's far and few between these days. But you two, Chris, sometimes.
Too many
Too many
Chris's.
fucking Chris's.
Too many
Exactly.
Chris's. Ryan and Tim, predominantly.
Cool. So what are your interests outside of the Fed?
Well, aside from wrestling, obviously.
Yeah.
If I'm not sitting in front of a video game most of the time, I don't know. There's really not much beyond that. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of reading. I'm actually editing a novel for a publisher friend of mine right now, while picking at a couple of my own, as well as a couple of games that I'm trying to design, which are very early in the storyboarding process. But other than that, I'm pretty much a homebody. It's not hard to get me to go out and do something, it's just hard to keep me interested.
Yeah.
T can tell you about that.
Indeed. Unless it's like a Sunday morning and I have to be to work at 7 o'clock and he's giving me a ride to work.
Okay, then she brings up a good point. Every Saturday night, me and several people sit around a table and play World of Darkness. So we're sitting there tossing dice all night, making terrible jokes, drinking, eating fattening food, and generally being as belligerent as possible.
And for those layman people, World of Darkness is a tabletop role-play game.
Which I just explained with the dice tossing. It's close to Dungeons & Dragons, but not quite as deep. If you ever heard of people playing Vampire, Werewolf, or Mage, they're talking about this. Currently, I play a Mage. I'm not going to wave the nerd flag any higher than that. I don't want people to shut off the podcast halfway through.
Shit, wave that shit proudly.
Oh, I'm good, no question. My Mage is functionally immortal at this point, but it's not everybody's bag of dice.
Pun intended, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I get it!
Okay. Okay, so we obviously know the answer to the question of do you work, but the question is, do you work or study, and if so, where and what do you do?
I work in a blow molding factory. I have for the past 6 years, full time, mostly shift. Physically draining job, but it affords me a lot of time to think. For a while, I did take online classes for game and simulation programming. I kind of washed out of that. Studying wise, I'll study pretty much anything that catches my interest. I can spend hours on Wikipedia reading about anything that catches my eye. But usually I try to stick to things that help me with my writing.
Cool. So next question is, who are some of your favourite and least favourite wrestlers, male and female?
Actual wrestlers or
Yeah.
e-fitness?
Actual wrestlers.
Okay. The first favorite wrestler I ever had was Lucifer. There was just something about him that drew. That faded over time, and if I were pressed for a favorite wrestler right now, it would have to be Chris Jericho. But that's the thing with wrestling these days for me. I try not to criticize it too much, even though I know a lot of what we see on TV I gravitate more towards the people who, when you watch them in the ring, you can tell that they're enjoying what they do. That they're just that they're having fun with it. They're not letting the fact that it's a goofy character keep them from embracing it. So that leads me to enjoy people like Mr. Anderson, Mojo Rawley off of NXT. Makes me chuckle every time I see him. But more serious wrestlers-wise, I would point to guys like Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre, obviously.
Obviously.
Who just got released.
Unfortunately, yes.
Because the writers have absolutely no sense. You take a guy who has everything that someone like Vince wants, and you let him go. Probably because of something having to do with his life. I don't speculate. I hope he wins a world title so he can rub it in Vince's face.
Me too.
On the female side, I don't know that I have a favorite female wrestler in terms of not pertaining to looks. I remember enjoying watching Jazz wrestle because she was an utter badass. Looked like she could pound the crap out of me.
Speaking of Miss Weapons Grade Cute herself, was married today.
I heard about that. Lucky woman, lucky man. But she's kind of fallen to second place with me now ever since Paige showed up on Raw and SmackDown. I hadn't watched much of her in NXT. I watched the match where she first won the women's title there. It was a very impressive match. I'm hoping that she gets to show more of that on Raw and SmackDown because obviously there's a discrepancy. I mean, look at the difference between the matches you see on NXT and what specials they have and what you see on cable every week. Match quality, unless it's pay-per-view, the match quality is just, there's a wide, Grand Canyon-sized chasm between it.
Yeah.
You would never see a women's match on Raw or SmackDown or pay-per-view the likes of Paige versus Emma for the women's title, or Charlotte versus Natalya, or even the 6-woman tag they had this past Thursday. You wouldn't see that on Raw and SmackDown because they're convinced women's wrestling doesn't sell.
Yeah.
Vince is the one who pulls the strings on Raw and SmackDown. NXT is all Triple H's baby. That's why I think wrestling quality is higher there, especially when it comes to women's tag teams.
Yeah.
Look, Shane went off on another tangent. That's why the last podcast I did was almost an hour and a half.
And it was in 2 parts.
In 2 parts. That was just you and I, Selena. Now we've got a third voice to...
Let's go for 3 hours.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Before I go off on another tangent, someone throw a different question.
Okay. Here's one that'll send him on a different tangent.
Oh, hell yeah.
What was the inspiration for your character, Sentinel?
Sentinel was created to be a sort of bodyguard / I don't think he was meant to be a quote-unquote love interest in the first place. He literally made his first appearance beating the hell out of someone. Got a big surprise there, right? No big surprise, the guy had just lost a match. Next thing he knows, he's a 6'5", 280-pound monster coming at him and spiking him into the mat from about 8 feet in the air. The character he was actually made for is Talon, who people in UWA have seen before. And for a while, that's what he did. He was her bodyguard. He didn't start wrestling till about a month later, but ended up with a couple of titles to his credit. A couple of tag teams, 1 singles title at one point. He held the equivalent of a world title. Talon held the equivalent of a world women's title, and together they held the tag titles. Triple H and Stephanie wish they could pull that off. But no, he was created about a year or 2 after Eric was, and has never spoken. I've just kind of let him progress organically. I let the actions of the other person who handled talent at the time direct where he went. I was just along for the ride, and here he is. There was no real inspiration for him. We just wanted someone who stood out appearance-wise and attitude-wise, and that's outside of wrestling storylines. That's where the idea for him to be silent came from, because you don't see too many people doing that.
True enough.
They'll try it. They'll try it in mainstream wrestling once in a while, but invariably the person's going to start to yap. Ryback started yapping. Rusev started yapping. Yak, yak, yak. Sentinel would rather let his fists do his talking.
Okay, how many characters have you come up with over the years?
Oh, crime in Italy. just ones that I've played,
Yeah.
or all together?
Ones you played.
Ones I've played. Wow. I'd say close to a dozen. Some of them have been more temporary than others, but if you count the ones I haven't played, it could be up around 30. The creation process is so enjoyable for me that sometimes I'll create characters that never see the light of day, or sit in my documents folder for, say, a couple of years before they put to bed.
Awesome. Well, since he actually answered the next question in the previous question, I'm going to skip that one.
Okay.
So we'll go to the next one. What is Sentinel's motivations?
His motivation?
Yes.
When he first came about, it was making sure that no one screwed the talent ever again. If you looked at her the wrong way, you'd have a very large hand around your throat, and you might be limping away from the counter. That progressed to in his Fed before he came to the UWA, when he was partnering with Zachariah Blood. The goal was destruction, plain and simple. They had the Unforgiven, as they were called, had no ulterior motive. They stepped up and they said, "We're here, we want those tag team titles, and really don't give a damn what we have to do to get them." But they were very clear that they were not going to bullshit anyone. Yes, we're going to attack you from behind. Yes, we're going to bust you open. If you show a weakness through a person, place, or thing that we can exploit, we're going to exploit it. We're not going to go for the cloak and dagger crap. If we want something, we take the direct route, and if someone gets hurt, hey, it's not like we didn't warn them. Of course, Zachariah did all the talking then. Well, anyone who's around Sentinel does all the talking. But that was the whole goal. They wanted World Tag Team titles, and the sad part of all that is, the day after they win the World Tag Team title, terrible stroke of luck for them, but now they're in one of them is, no, none of them are in the UWA now. You can blame Nick Daniels, and you can blame Joshua McBride, and whatever the little Asian twat's name is, I'm going to forget, for the fact that they're gone, storyline-wise, but outside of storyline, I simply burned out. Too much at once, all the time, constantly. I think that when when you're starting to shape your life around the game, manipulate your free time and the important things that you have to do around, well, I can't go pay this bill, or I can't mow the yard because I have to write this promo, it's about time to step back and reevaluate things.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
Very true, very true.
Okay. So the next question is, in what ways do you think your character has grown or changed since their debut in in UWA? If possible, list a negative and a positive example.
He tends to make the same change no matter what Fed he goes to. He always starts as a heel, but he almost invariably becomes a face by fan reaction. I don't really want to equate it with Steve Austin. That's people just started to really dig Steve Austin because, again, no bullshit, and people can get behind that, and that's how it is with Sentinel. He hasn't really gotten a chance to progress very far in the UWA. He wasn't around for long before he was taken out. I'd say the negatives for him were having the opportunity to win the world title, not pulling it off, systematically losing one manager, then another, and then getting taken out. There's been no rising action for him yet. When he was in APW, it was more of a straight line. They came in, they fought, they won more than they lost. They eventually won the tag titles. Things got out. Sentinel really hasn't had a chance to grow, so there's not a fair answer to that question yet. If he comes back, perhaps at a later time, I'll have a response.
Cool.
Awesome. So the next question is, name a few characters you wouldn't mind seeing your character intertwined with, be it rival opponent-wise or friendly partner-wise.
Well, I go back to McBride as a person I'd like to test my pro mobility, and Sentinel would like to test his pain tolerance against. Well, Sentinel, I think after what went down in the APW, is pretty much done with tag teaming. If it's a necessary evil, I don't think he'd have a problem teaming up with Aaron or Arsenal, and if their goals were similar enough, maybe another group like, say, the Cornbread Mafia or Silver Baron, maybe Fraser Freeman. But again, right now, I'm just now starting to get back into reading everything that's posted. So that's a sort of across-the-board answer there.
Cool. Next question kind of might be pointless, but what do you plan on doing with your character in the future? If you bring him back.
Just like in e-fitting, as you would in regular wrestling, the rule is never say never.
True.
If Sentinel comes back, I know for damn sure that he's going to want that World Heavyweight title. In his mind, he hasn't been beaten. He's lost a couple matches, but he hasn't been beaten. No one's pinned him. No one's made him tap. Some people have been lucky to survive the fight with him. That's not arrogance, that's how he sees things. Other than that, I think if he comes back before he gets anywhere near the world title, because I expect him to have to earn his way up to it, that's the way it should be done. Before he comes back, he's going to be looking at the children as people who need to be taught a lesson. There's a whole lot about Sentinel that is untapped. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of backstory, there's a lot of things that people have never seen out of him. So right now, I'm taking in everything that's happening so that if he does come back, I'm ready to have him make an impact.
Cool. So, next question is, what has been your most favorite feud so far? Be it one of your characters or one that didn't involve you?
Eric Donovan and Snake. And the feud that Chris and I had between our main characters took both of them to the next level. The stories were intricate. They reached back more than half of each character's lives. They've carried it to 2 separate feds. They have literally run the entire emotional spectrum. They've been beating the hell out of each other one night, teaming the next. They've traded titles. They formed what I admittedly arrogantly believe is one of the most impressive stables in e-fetting. I mean, when you're talking about a group that's held over 30 world titles between them, that says nothing of the secondary titles. 3 men and 3 women. That was dangerous. There was no standing up to them, any of them. And I would put them up against any stable in e-fetting were all the characters still active and were the handlers able to get along. Obviously, in both cases, that's impossible. And maybe I'm looking at history through rose-colored glasses, but that's how I feel about it. And none of that would have come about if Eric Donovan and Snake hadn't clashed from the very moment that Eric set foot in the first show that I ever played. It's also the fact that if it weren't for Chris, I wouldn't be as good of a player as I am now.
Cool. So how do you feel about your style of writing compared to other people's?
I feel I'm seriously lacking, to be perfectly honest.
Really?
I tend to put my foot in my mouth or do such with my characters when it comes to them trash talking. And that's why sometimes playing Sentinel, despite him only being my second favorite character, is a little easier on me. Because with him, I don't have to worry about talking back. I
Sure.
have to worry about answering retorts. Case in point, people were taking, pot shots at him. They like to make the whole mute jokes. They like to talk about, well, you just showed up here. What have you done? And at the previous show, Sentinel and Zachariah had attacked the longest reigning champion in that group. And Zachariah turns to him and says, so what do you have to say about it, big man? And all Sentinel does is show his hands with that champion's blood still on them. Sometimes simple is all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Description-wise, I think I can hang with anyone. I think I paint a pretty vivid picture.
You do.
And if I sit back
Indeed.
and really, really dissect what the other person said, then counterpoint-wise, I think I can put up a challenge. But if you're just talking about straight, who's better, and let's be honest, that's what e-fetting is, competitive writing. I see a lot of people who stand above me in certain regards. That's why I try to lean on what I do well, such as description, such as throwing in poetic or historical or mythological references to try and, quote-unquote, obfuscate what I'm not saying.
Awesome. Do you have a planned ending for your character's journey, or are you just along for the ride?
I let my characters decide that. In Eric's case, he decided I have nothing left to prove. Eric is going to be, yes, I keep track of these things, he's going to be 30 this year. He's a multiple-time world champion. He's a Hall of Famer. He's beaten everyone who's ever been put before him. In his mind, he accomplished what he wanted to do in the business and much more. He has nothing left to prove. If he ever steps back to the ring, it's probably going to be because someone's either itching for a fight or someone needs his help. Sentinel, there is no end game. He's going to keep going until, like Eric, decides he's done. He knows he's capable of winning that world title. He knows that given time, he can beat anyone that's put in front of him. And he knows that he has a whole lot more to offer. anyone has seen yet. That's what makes him fun for me, aside from the inherent difficulty that he gives to his opponents, is that I can't see his run ending. Now, I know that kind of goes against me being burnt out, but I think that eventually he will return. I just don't know when, and I don't know how.
Awesome.
Cool. So, what is your favorite thing about your characters?
Probably all my characters give me a chance to do something that I can't personally. There's a little bit of me in every character that I've played. Some have more than others. Eric is probably got the most. He embraces a lot of things about me, turned up to 11, although he does a lot better than I could. Sentinel is a combination of all the negative stuff that I keep bottled up and my protective instincts. Because that's what a Sentinel is. It's a protector. It's someone who puts themselves between one side and the other to protect the side that they chose. Now, I haven't seen much of that out of him so far. Now, he would be more appropriately called by his nickname. Take your pick which one. They both fit. But that's something that helps keep my characters interested, because I don't have to really put myself in a different mindset to play them. I can just tap into that part of me that they embrace and let it go from there.
Awesome. Is it my turn?
Sure is.
She's not very good at keeping track, is she?
No, she's not.
Hey, it's been a long day. Hush.
Please don't hand me that long day, bull hockey.
What is your favorite thing about UWA?
I liked just being here from the start, watching things grow. I like how we have one big overarching storyline that, whether anyone likes it or not, they're a part of. Everyone has something to do if they choose to do it.
Mm.
I like that we have a pretty diverse roster. I mean, we've got a lot of impressive females, enough to have our own women's division, but I think these days that's become almost passé. It was the same way in New Era, and the question was actually asked, why isn't there a women's division? And the person who was running the Fed at the time said, because our women are good enough to hang with the men.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the UWA has that mentality, although there is that part of me that think the women should have their own division to themselves, because there are just some things that female wrestlers cannot do to male wrestlers and vice versa. Against another woman, they can truly show everything that they're capable of.
That's true.
But aside from just being able to watch the place grow and the diversity of the roster, I say those are the main things that I enjoy about the group.
Cool. Hey, so the next question is, if you had to write a roleplay for any other character in UWA that isn't yours, who would you pick, and what kind of roleplay do you think you'd write for him or her?
Tough question. I'm going to go with I want to go with Kyle Travis on this.
Oh?
And I would write a promo where he finally shows a little humility. I get the fact that the character and the player have been in this for a long time. I understand, mostly because he won't let anyone forget it, that there has been multiple title reigns. There's been multiple people injured. There's been careers ended. He's been in umpteen companies. You know what? Everyone knows that because he never, ever shuts up about it.
Mm.
Now, I realize that I'm going to be a little harsh in saying this, but I'm not one to hold myself back when it comes to e-fitting. Fact of the matter is, the character and the player have refused to evolve. They have refused to change their approach even a little bit. They have refused to adapt to different opponents, to different companies, to different situations. And then that same person shows frustration when they can't get as far ahead with whatever fed they're in at the moment than they did before. And if I had the chance to write for Kyle Travis, I would make him show that humility. I would show the fact that as good as he says he is, he's not as good as he thinks he is. That he is vulnerable, that he has weaknesses. Because until he accepts that, the North American title, in my estimation, is as high as he's ever going to get. Now, don't get me wrong. I have no personal problem with Chris. Tristan had Kyle Travis. I really have no problem with the character because more than half the time he does get the job done. I just feel like he's ramming his head against the wall, and I'd like to see someone like that who has the ability to be more of a threat. People shouldn't be feeling like they're pulling teeth reading through one of his promos, especially if they're going against him. They should read his work and go, oh, crap, what did my character set into? Because he has that capability. Seeing him wasted is a shame.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't say I disagree with that, like, at all.
I've went against him several times. Kyle Travis and Eric Donovan alone have had 4 or 5 matches. And again, I am far from being the best writer in e-fetting or even in the UWA. But as good as Kyle Travis is and says he is, 5 matches, 5 losses against Eric. It's not a coincidence. It's not a fluke. It's not luck. He writes the same damn promo every time. I may not be very good, but you can never accuse me of not at least trying to do something different and taking into account everything, whether it hurts my character or not.
Right. Okay, so who is your favorite non-wrestling related character in UWA? Could be commentator, interviewer, somebody else's manager, general manager.
Wow, golly. You know, I liked Oliver Giorgio before he became a puppet.
Right?
Right? But, I wouldn't say that there's anyone that I like that I would find myself rooting for. But when it comes to Samuel, I kind of feel for the guy.
We'll go.
He's not under the thumb of McBride, but he's having to deal with the backlash that the guy who signs the checks is.
Right. Poor Samuel, he's kind of getting the raw end of the deal on all of it.
I think that if he can survive through this, and we see a culmination where Oliver gets control of himself again, I think he'll realize just how important Samuel is, and maybe the kid will see brighter days.
Right. I think a lot of it is if you pay attention, to like how some of the people write Samuel into their promos. Samuel is the heart and soul of UWA. He's pretty much is what's keeping UWA alive right now.
He's keeping the place from becoming an utter madhouse. And I mean, look at everything that's going on right now. The children are in control of everything. With what's her name and McBride on top of all else. Yeah, there you go, my God, it was something like that. And you've got a group of 6, 7 very tough, very determined women in Arsenal, in Aaron, in the new tag team. I don't dare try to pronounce their name. going against them. You have, tag teams vying over titles that aren't about yet. Kyle Travis is running his mouth. No one's seen Paulie O'Connor, Freeman, Stalker, the Dark Camelot, and now we're seeing fans just walking down in the middle of the show, sitting in the front row, and who knows what the hell people like that are up to. Not to mention this detective guy. Daniel's got a lot of crap. The poor guy is probably taking pills to sleep, pills to wake up, pills to keep him pissing his pants. There's no telling where the next oh shit moment's going to come from, and he probably doesn't know whether he's going to go home to a hotel room after the show or if he's going to a hospital room.
Yeah.
Right. No kidding.
Okay.
You gotta kind of feel bad for him, because I mean, come on, if anybody is a fan of Lost, then, and if you've seen the pick base that we use for Samuel, it's Hugo. It's you can't not like the guy. He's on everybody's side, be it face or heel or a tweener or whatever. He's there for the company as a whole.
I'm hoping that he gets a little respite here soon. I'm hoping that Arsenal and Aaron and all them, I hope they put a dent in the children so that some of the pressure is taken off Samuel. I hope that these tag teams and these people who have all this beef, I hope they continue destroying each other, but that they do it in the ring so there's less mess for the poor guy to clean up.
Right.
But we'll see, because every show it seems like something else is happening. Someone's either staring at the children or someone's attacking people backstage, and it's just a big mess. He's not an executive anymore, he's a maid. And that's sad.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll be able to see Samuel be able to step up and show what moxie he has.
Here's hoping.
Alright, so the next question is, what are the pros of being part of a fed that runs its shows bi-weekly compared to the common weekly show fed, and what are the cons?
Pros are definitely having more time to put your work together, although some people seem to take that as an excuse to wait an extra week and do nothing before they actually post something. When I started, the fed that I was in was weekly, and we had a maximum of 4 promos per week. Regular shows, 7 for pay-per-views. I've had weeks in that fed where I wrote upwards of 10 promos a week.
Good lord.
And for someone who's working full-time, now granted that particular week was on Christmas vacation, but even so, that's still 10 promos a week. Still, the time between helps, not just for getting your writing together, but also just for coming up with ideas. But it also gives new characters, new players, time to catch up with everything before they dive in. Now, on the downside, again, is the sandbaggage. And there's really nothing that can be done about that. T and I have had this conversation personally. What exactly does a person gain from posting late or posting last? Last word isn't going to make you look any more impressive to the judges.
Nope.
No.
But yet, people still do it. And in the last fed that I had Eric played in, I tried to get myself out of that habit because I did have it myself. The card would go up on Monday and there'd be a promo up by Wednesday. Not only to break that mold, but because it takes some of the pressure off. But also I think having a bi-weekly, it tends to make you more patient. because storylines have a little more time to sink in. Granted, you can't do as much with only a show every 2 weeks, but that makes you put more effort into what people do see in each show. So you really have to hook people in. You have to treat this as though people are watching it on TV, and if you don't entertain them, they're going to change the channel.
That is very, very true.
Slow storyline progression is almost a lost art. Someone shows up, someone says, "Hey, I don't like you." They have a match, something goes up, they sneak attack each other a couple of times. "Hey, let's settle this pay-per-view, move on." We're not getting that in UWA right now. We've got stuff that's been going on for months, still going. It's probably going to be going on through the end of the year.
Yep.
That's a big plus. Gives everybody a chance to dip their hand in the cookie jar and see what they find.
Right, exactly. And I think that's Chris's idea behind it. Because, like he said in thing that he did, a post on the boards that he made, he's wanting to do this as the overall storyline for UWA. He's wanting to do it, break it down into 4 acts and do it as a yearly thing. And I like that idea, and it gives credence to the whole, okay, who's going to be around, to be major players in the storyline. And as sad as it sounds, it's going to be who's going to be a major player, who's going to be a mid card, who's going to be a low card, basically, and through the development of a storyline like that, you find out where certain people lie.
The trick is, it has to encompass everything. Now, Selena can attest to this because her and I played together in UWA a lot of times. When I took Eric there, I tried to make sure that every promo had some kind of continuity to it. There was no insert yourself into a place in the city where the show is taking place, make a few references, and then try to shoot on it down. There was storyline there, start to finish, sort. It had to be like just the next episode of a TV series. These storylines, like the ones that you talked about that Chris wants to have going as they are, that can't just be the shows. It has to be segments, it has to be matches, it has to be promos and people fights. Everything needs to be part of it, otherwise, not only are you robbing yourself of the enjoyment of it, but you're robbing everyone of the experience.
Right.
Is there anything you do to help inspire yourself during the process of writing a roleplay, aka listening to music or watching old promos of real wrestlers, etc.?
I don't usually watch old promos before I write one of my own. I might have a look at them as inspiration or after the fact, but all that I use in the process of writing usually is music. And that music is usually determined by which character I'm writing.
Alrighty. Second question is, if the WWE or whatever promotion you prefer could hire any one fictional e-wrestler made into reality, who would you like to see them hire?
I'd like to see them hire Romeo Styles from New Era. It would be easy to say that I'd like to see one of my own under the bright lights, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think they would sell things as well. Not in terms of wrestling ability, but just in terms of the complete package, as someone like Romeo would. That his handler has really taken him to the next level, and he has a certain appeal that I think everyone can find something to relate to with.
Cool. So the next question is, what 2 new athletes who aren't a couple, UWA athletes of course, do you think should become one? Doesn't matter if it's male, female, male, or female.
I think Sonreal should stop lying to themselves. But all joking aside, hard to pick out a couple. I mean, there's this complicated situation going on between Craven and Skylar. There's the very storied history between both Aaron and Brody, as well as Jessica and Brody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone wants to get, any female, wants to get too close to Sentinel, considering they've seen his wife. It's,
right?
It's hard to make a choice. If Paulie O'Connor were to come back, I wouldn't be surprised to see something happen between him and Aaron, given their history. Because
in everybody, I've had a couple people say that. In Paulie's, Aaron, unfortunately, probably to anybody else, Aaron doesn't view Paulie as anything more than like her brother, or best friend. She has no romantic interest towards Paulie at all.
No, currently she doesn't.
Could happen, though.
Nothing is set in stone. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Just like it's not out of the realm of possibility that someone will turn Sentinel's head. But the problem with that is it would just turn right back.
Right.
Other than that, I can't think of any two that would go together. Although watching a interaction between the Corporate Mafia and Kiss would be kind of funny to watch.
You're meaning if Kiss hooked up with Corporate Mafia?
Two proper women and two girl boys talking like this. Might be pretty interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
I still say that I'm gonna get together with Ryan and we're gonna have Aaron and Cornbread Mafia commentate a match one of these days.
You totally have to do that. That has to be done.
And I hear from behind me, Bucky Ball.
Trying to give Chris a headache or an aneurysm or both.
Yep.
I'm not writing it.
Feel sorry for Chris if he had to.
You need me sitting next to him to translate everything.
I'm sure Ryan would write it.
Since I've got both redneck and Irish in me, I'd probably be the only one qualified to understand it all.
What's funny is me being from the South, I still have a hard time reading Cornbread Mafia's stuff.
You just
like I have to go, huh?
You just gotta hear it in your head.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, you kind of have to read it out loud, I've found, with their stuff.
So what y'all doing later?
Which has got to be hard for you, Selena, because you have that Kiwi accent.
Yep. Totally.
Which would be, I'm sure, probably hilarious as hell to sit here and hear you try to pull off a Southern accent with a Kiwi accent.
I don't even want to try.
No, we would need some Jack Daniels for that.
Oh, lots and lots and lots of Jack Daniels.
Lots and lots and lots of Jack Daniels. Maybe a little Jim Beam or Johnny Walker for good measure.
Don't forget the other man in that good old Jose too.
No, I think you're forgetting the foul, but I don't think we want to have to break out the wild turkey.
Hey. Okay, so who is your favorite UWA couple, be it friends, enemies, or lovers?
At this point, I'd say Aaron and Brody. She just wants to slap the taste out of his mouth sometimes, and he loves rubbing it in her face. But I think there's something more beneath all that. What it is, I don't know. There's chemistry there. To what end, I can't imagine.
Right.
Alright, so the next set of questions are from Ryan. His first question is, to you, which is the bigger missed opportunity, so to speak, for a character, Twin Dream or Vengeance?
Which one was the biggest missed opportunity?
Yeah.
Vengeance.
Why is that?
Easily. Twin Dream was made just so I could have fun with it. One of the characters I had played as under a different name elsewhere. As with a lot of my characters, she had a connection to Eric and her partner, literally her older sister, was around at that time but did not participate. She just handled the costumes later. But I brought them back because A, it would be fun for me to play, and B, it would be fun to read other people's reactions. When it comes to Vengeance, though, I took them a little more seriously. They had a whole lot of potential, and had my burnout not happened, and had your own situation, Selena, had not gone to the degree that it did,
Yeah.
with all the storyline that we had backed up, I'd like to think we had almost a year's worth.
Oh yeah,
They
easily.
Yeah, they could have held on to those tag team titles as long as they chose, and it wouldn't have mattered who they stepped in the ring with. Whether it was the Wrecking Crew, whether it was the Bomb Squad, whether it was Brandy, you know, everyone's favorite tag team, it wouldn't have made a lick of difference. Because you're not going to stop two trained weapons of destruction.
No.
No one, in my estimation, in the tag team ranks possessed the kind of trophy that Vengeance had.
No.
Literally, you will have to kill us to get us out of the way sort of mentality. And people like to, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but this is something that relates. Too many people these days like to think their characters are free. Oh, well, they wouldn't give up. They wouldn't tap out. You're going to have to beat them half to death to be able to pin them. This hold's never been broken, and so on and so forth. I sit back and I say all those things about Vengeance. But that's not necessarily going to translate into what they do in the ring. And I know that. But they still have that attitude. And that's key. You can believe that about your characters. You can make your characters believe in that themselves. But people are going to have to accept that rules are made to be broken. Eric Donovan only tapped out twice in his entire career. And I had no problem with that. But by and large, a lot of people do. And they need to get over that. That's something that pops up whenever I think about people saying how tough their characters are. If you've got a choice between tapping out, accepting a loss, and moving on, or if Sergey has hold of you in this particular case, if you're about to get your arm torn off, if you have any sort of brains or self-preservation, you're going to tap. But just buy into the fact that their character is invincible. It's a pet peeve. But final answer to the question, Vengeance was easily the missed opportunity. And if I felt confident bringing them back, I wouldn't hesitate.
Do you, I'm going to add on to that question, do you feel when and if you do come back to UWA that there would be an opportunity for you to bring Vengeance back?
It's a possibility.
Or bring Vengeance over?
It's a possibility. They didn't really have an exit. New Era. They lost their tag team titles and that was it.
Yeah,
Now,
I was gonna ask what actually happened because I actually had no idea. I just knew they were written out.
they straight up lost the match.
Oh.
I believe they dropped the titles to Insanity, which I'm because that was a good team.
Yeah.
Ryan is an excellent player. I think there's no shame in losing to someone like him.
No. Ryan's awesome.
No one likes to lose, but if I have to lose to someone who I know can be and a lot of the time was a better player than me, then yeah, I'd rather have it that way.
And next question. In character, how did the dragon and the snake become brothers?
That was a whole lot of brainstorming on the part of Chris and me. In the same way that outside of the game, him and I consider ourselves a lot of, that's a very close mirror to Eric and Snake. You spend enough time living with, working with, and fighting alongside someone like that, you're going to grow together.
Right.
And despite the fact that for a number of years in the middle of their time together, for lack of a better term, they would have loved nothing better than to cripple each other. It's one of those things. I mean, you don't know. Sometimes you can't get close to someone until you beat the hell out of each other. I've had that happen in real life. I've had people that I despise, but once we fists each other's faces, it's like, okay, we got it out of our system. And we got a whole lot of mileage off those two. They formed one of the most dominant stables I've ever seen, honestly. I would put that group up against any other. Over a combined 30 world titles between 3 men and 3 women. Dangerous group. And we got a lot of excellent role plays out of them. They went into Hall of Fame together. So, you know, that's a connection between characters I don't think I'll ever be able to manufacture with anyone else. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to find that chemistry with someone else because it is that chemistry that helped me become a better player. But yeah, it was just a matter of, okay, we're going to be feuding with each other, let's come up with something. And we pretty much pulled 10 years of history out of our asses and made it work and carried that feud over a year combined.
So the next question is, why do you think Sentinel always ends up a major face even when you don't have him do seriously violent things?
Because the fans appreciate someone who's real. I know I've used Steve Austin as reference before, but people liked him because he wasn't trying to pull the wool over their face. It helps that we all wish we could do the things he did. And with Sentinel, it's kind of that way. We wish that we could sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, stomp the hell out of people who got in our way. We wish that our actions really could speak for us. And Sentinel, despite the fact that he might be fighting faces, and he might be, really trying to hurt, bloody, injure, break people, whichever word you decide to choose, there's no malice in him. There's no arrogance. He's a wrestler. He hurts people. It's what he does best. And he just does it. He goes out, he gets the job done, and he leaves it at that. People know exactly what they're getting with him, and after a while, they just come to enjoy what he does.
Very, very true. Is it my turn?
It is.
Okay. Is it frustrating that Sentinel almost seems incapable of remaining a heel?
No, not at all. As long as the change isn't forced, which it hasn't it's an organic change from him going from heel to face, or even face to heel, then that's fine. But, you know, as long as I don't end up making the same mistake with him that I've made with, say, Eric in the past, and turning his alignment because I felt like it was the only way to do things because he was being forced into doing so for whatever reason, I have no problem with it. Whether he's heel or face, as long as I can play him and feel some kind of satisfaction in my work, his alignment doesn't matter to me.
Okay, the next question is, who is your favourite character of yours to play as a heel?
I think Eric was the most fun to play as a heel. Because when he's a face, he doesn't quite have the whole good guy vibe. He still kind of falls under the anti-hero umbrella. When he's a heel, he's a truly evil bastard. There's nothing that he won't throw back in someone's face. There's no reference he won't try to pull if it fits the point that he's trying to get across. And he obviously has no problem being violent. Being a face is difficult. In some ways it's more difficult than being a heel. You have to take what everything your opponent says pretty much with a smile, and you have to shoot back, but you can't allow yourself to stoop to their level. But being a heel comes with its own challenges. You can't just throw out curse words and insults, all that, and expect people to think, hey, he's a bad guy. You have to. Let me quote. Some people might not know who this is. Let me quote Terry Funk. When I love the fans, I love them. They paid for everything I have, but when I'm with that guy, I hate them sons of bitches. And by the time I get to the arena, I believe in that hatred. That's the thing. Your character has to embrace being bad. You can't take the easy way out. If there's an advantage there, they have to take it. They can't let morals get in the way. And there's a lot of, and it can center around them being violent. It can center around them having a wise mouth, or as Snake did so well and Eric came to do just as well, it can be psychological. But regardless, whether you're playing good or bad, there's no easy way out. And though it was difficult to play Eric as a heel sometimes, he's easily my favorite because when he was on, he was fucking on. And a lot of people have burn scars to prove it, figuratively and literally.
Do you see? Can you see a day where Eric Donovan comes to the UWA?
I can see him coming to the UWA, but I don't think I can see him wrestling there. He's content with his life. He doesn't have to work another day if he doesn't want to. He's not even 30 years old. Multiple-time world champion, Hall of Famer, accomplished everything he set out to do. Almost everything, but more than enough to satisfy himself. If he steps back into the ring, it's going to take something very serious. It's going to take something extremely personal to get him back in the ring. And in a brief moment of arrogance, I have to say that anyone who manages to force him back into the ring is going to leave the match, whether they win or lose, wishing they hadn't. But yeah, I see him maybe showing up once or twice. Who knows? Never say never in wrestling, whether you're talking about fiction or otherwise.
Yeah. Can you see a day where the Unforgiven comes back in full force?
I'd like to see that, but I would like to see other people join the group. I don't want to just have it be Sentinel out there with 3 different managers, and honestly, just seeing him and Zachariah again as a team, no matter how much fun they were to write with Zachariah's mouth, Sentinel just standing there and laughing with his eyes. I'd like to see more people in the group, more players, but whether they could survive Zachariah initiating them into the group is another thing entirely.
Would you ever tag team with another handler again?
Absolutely. I mean, that kind of goes back to the other question. You know, I mean, because I've done it both ways. I have tag teamed by myself, and I've tag teamed with other people, Selena included.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did a great job with Vengeance.
We did.
Even though near the end she could only offer limited input, which was fine. But she was still very much a part of the team as far as I was concerned. I've actually had one of my characters team up with Kyle Travis.
Mm-hmm.
The character who trained Eric, trained his ex-wife, trained both members of Twin Dream, and a couple of other people. And he and Kyle Travis formed a team called Perfect Storm, and they actually held World Tag Team titles for 5 months. That's pretty much the only time that I can remember personally when Kyle Travis was a face. And he was getting good reactions. I think his work went pretty well during that time, and I don't know if it was because he was motivated or some other reason. I don't want to take the credit for that, because no matter how much shit I might give him, and I would, he is a good writer when he chooses to be. But to answer the question, yeah, I would be willing to team with someone when I came back if I knew that they were motivated and they weren't going to leave me hanging. That hasn't happened yet, knock on wood. But I would have to know, because when I do anything in e-fetting, I go all in. I don't have an off switch. I don't have levels from 1 to 10. I turn it up all the way, and it stays there.
I can attest to that.
Eric and the previous incarnation of Jessica actually had a go-round. That was a surprisingly violent match.
Yep.
I think she busted him open.
I think she did. Yeah.
That was intense. She definitely got Eric's respect after that match.
Yeah. I miss playing that Jessica actually, like the real badass thing.
I think I like the new version of Jessica better.
Oh really?
The new version of Jessica isn't as tightly wound.
True.
She shows a lot more humanity than the old.
Ice bitch.
You tried. If that storyline we have been working on really carried through, then I think that Jessica would have turned out more like this one.
Yeah, she would have. Shame that never ended up happening. Due to unfortunate situation.
Unfortunate circumstance, but it's in the past, it's there.
Yeah, it can stay there.
Yes.
Next question is Vengeance truly dead?
I'd like to hope not. That team still had plenty of potential, and I think they can challenge any team in e-fetting for a World Tag title. Whether or not I bring them back is along the same lines of whether or not I bring Sentinel back. It's a matter of whether I feel confident and have the time to do writing for e-fetting outside of just matches justice.
Sure.
But of course, now that also hinges on you too, because I'm not bringing them back unless you're playing your half of it.
This is true. Yeah.
I don't think teams like Sangreal or Kiss or Dark Camelot or the children would quite know what to make of these two.
No, they wouldn't.
And I think there would be a lot of people trying to call bullshit. Because you remember as well as I do what kinds of things they've seen doing in films.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, a lot of this stuff had to be staged because, again, they were dipping into their past.
Mm.
But you turn on a wrestling promo, and you see someone gets shot down with an assault rifle out in the open. Yeah, people are going to start calling bullshit on that. They're going to say, why aren't these two in jail?
Yeah.
And again, that's a pretty extreme example of what they did wasn't nice and they didn't think.
Yeah.
So the next question is, does everything really burn?
Absolutely. Everything burns. It's a matter of how. It's a matter of what it takes to catch the spark. And it's a matter of what kind of mood Eric is in. He's used that phrase for a couple of years now. And every time someone makes a joke about it, he turns around and blows fire in someone's face, or sets his boot on fire and kicks them in the face, or sets a parade on fire. He's one of those people. You don't challenge him not to do something because he's going to turn around and do it, not only to spite you, but so he can laugh at you while it's going on. It's part of the Irish asshole in him that just can't be stopped. He's face or heel.
So the next question is McBride, Snake, and Brody versus Eric, Blood, and Sentinel. How long does the fight go for, and who wins in the end?
About 45 minutes, and if there's any sort of rules in that match, it's going to end in a double disqualification. You might as well make it a death match. You might as well accept the fact that it's going to turn from the Shield versus Evolution in bloody open. All 6 of these guys are going to be fighting at once. Nothing and no one in the arena is going to be safe, and you're going to need a couple of ambulances. We haven't seen a whole lot of what McBride can do, but he's a big boy. He's got a dark mind, and it's pretty safe to say that he would go to any lengths to achieve his goals. Brody will give you a fight that you wouldn't expect from someone like him. He's got an attitude problem, but he can back it up. He made a believer out of Sentinel, even though he didn't get the win. Snake, no one plays the mind game better than him. He's the kind of guy that McBride needs to take notes on. If he really wants to screw with someone's head, Snake is the man to watch. Snake's one of the few people that can get an Eric Donovan's head and stay there. Not to mention the fact that he's huge. Bigger than Sentinel.
Yeah, true.
Just as powerful. When it comes to Eric, I can't sing his praises too much. I've done it enough already. But, well, we've seen what Aaron does. Eric's got the same blood. He's got the same attitude. And he can go in any style you want. You want to fly, you want to brawl, you want to technically wrestle, whatever. You want to take it out in the street, he'll do that too. Sentinel, we all know what he can do. He's wrecked. Put a target in front of him and watch it fall down. Blood, no one here, I think, has gotten to see him wrestle.
No.
He's very much a ground and pound type of wrestler. He's going to beat on you until you stop moving. He's going to make you up and lose. He loves to use submissions. He loves just... He's a big proponent of the Japanese style. They're going to hit you hard. And if you don't hit them back hard, they're going to make the rest of that match healthy. And this is a guy who his manager will beat him with a cane and he'll match to go. loves pain, loves dishing it out, loves receiving it. He has a limit, everyone does. But his are pretty phenomenal. So, I mean, you're putting these 6 guys together in a 3-on-3 match. Call the blood bank, call several hospitals, call the National Guard. Because it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly fast. Love of God, make sure the cameras are on. You are not going to want to miss it.
Right? But the question still remains, who would win in the end?
Who would win? Wow. Well, let me think about the handler. On one side, you got Chris as his best character, Snake. Whoever's got McBride, like I said, haven't seen much. Doing a good job so far. Haven't seen much. Jury's still out. Jeez, who was the other on that side? Brody?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay. Well, it's essentially 2-on-1 there. Chris has Snake and Brody, and whoever's got McBride, and then you got me on the other side. Out of character-wise, I don't like my chances. Again, I give Chris all the credit in the world for helping me get as good as I am. It's just whoever's having the better week, I guess. But I might give the edge to Snake's side of the fight. All of them are going to look like losers by the end. All 6 of them. That goes without saying.
Awesome. So, the next set of questions is from photographer Bob's handler. Everybody here knows, everybody knows him as Roro. If you had to choose to write an RP as a character that isn't yours, like Bob, Skylar, Aaron, McBride, etc., who would you pick and why?
Kyle Travis, to inject a dose of humility into his promos that's lacking. Everywhere he goes, no matter what level he's at, if he's losing the opening match, he's vying for a title in the main event. If he's in a tag team, he's on one side of a faction. The man is writing the same promos all the time. Everyone knows how many people he's injured, where they're from, what their name is, what their blood type is, and what they named their first dog. Everyone can tell you in detail exactly what kind of leather was used in every title belt, and what kind of engraving they used to put his name on the nameplate. And he's been in so many feds that he could create his own alphabet. Do you know how we know this? Because he never stops telling us about it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's a great writer when he wants to be. But he's complacent. Worse than that, he refuses to change. I would take Kyle Travis on a pay-per-view show so that I had 3 promos to work with. And it would be time for a big, long, ugly look in the mirror. And by the time it was over, if that still wasn't enough to shock him into doing what needs to be done to take himself back to the top, then I'd consider it a lost cause. I'm not saying that I'm a better writer than him. I'm saying I'm tired of seeing him waste his still existing potential. And I would like to prove in this fictional situation that he could be world champion.
I think he could, as well.
He could, but again, he's very set in his ways. He's been doing this, Handler's been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
He's got to realize that what worked in 2 other places won't work in the next 3.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta evolve.
adapt or perish.
Indeed. So whose question's next to you? Is it me or you?
Yours.
Mine. Okay. Which character in UWA could you see Sentinel feuding with? If he returned.
he returned, well, I think his business is done with Brody. Brody took his beating. He took it like a man. He came out and he admitted that he was wrong. So in Sentinel's mind, that's settled. He's got no more beef with the guy. And if Sentinel were to indicate that that's the case, Talon wouldn't have a fight with the guy either. But out of the existing roster, wouldn't mind seeing Sentinel get his meat hooks on Kyle Travis just to beat some humility into him. But that's unlikely. I just don't see it happening. With picking a more serious, I would say McBride. He seems to be the next big thing right now. He's got his grubby little fingers way into the cookie jar. And eventually, he's going to cross Sentinel's path again. And I'd like to see Sentinel faces and show him that if he really wants to win this place, it's not going to be as easy as tossing a bunch of convicts that hired geisha at the full damn company. Yes, that was a pot shot at Maiko. Hey, you know what? She's attractive right now. In my book, that's all she's got going. And that's not speaking as a player or a character. That's speaking as a fan. As if I were watching UWA.
Right.
She pisses
Oh,
me
that's
off.
okay. She's gonna be proving her badassness here very, very soon.
She's going to be trying.
Spoiler.
Oh, she's
She's
yes,
going
she's
to be trying. Just like Aaron is trying to hold on to her title. Kyle Travis is trying to hold on to his. And Brody's trying to figure out where his nuts went.
Okay, so last question from Roro before we move on to Chris's questions is which character could you see Sentinel teaming up with?
Aaron, probably. They have an understanding. And she's on a very short list right now, and in one certain factor pertaining to him, and I'll leave it at that. But she has a lot of his respect, and Sentinel's not going to team with anybody that he doesn't respect. No one else in UWA presently has earned it yet. Brody had it for a little while, and then he fudged it. Now Sentinel would tolerate him. He would be accepting of his presence. But Aaron, yeah, he respects her enough to team.
Cool. I can see her teaming up with Sentinel like that in some fashion, you know.
It was a necessity.
Not even really out of necessity, like out of everybody in UWA as it stands right now from her standpoint, the one person that has her utmost respect is Sentinel. I mean, because and this is not really a spoiler, everybody's seen it with, you know, a show or two ago when the children took out Zachariah Blood, you know, she overheard Maiko saying, you know, send the bills to us, blah, 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 blah. And she went up afterwards and told Blood that she would make them pay, you know, for what he did to Sentinel, for what they had just done to Zachariah. You know, it's all of it.
Zachariah did it was stupid, and he knows that. He knew it was stupid when he went out to that ring. He knew he was going to get the hell beaten out of him. He didn't care.
Right.
You got to realize something about Zachariah. Okay, he hates everybody. There's maybe 4 people on the planet that he does not hate. He doesn't step up or go to bat for anyone. That's the first time he's ever done anything close to resembling what someone would call base behavior. So, you can bet that Sentinel saw that. You can bet that if Sentinel comes back, there might be a few children who end up in traction.
Right.
Doing that to his partner. But, yeah, I remember reading that scene with Aaron as well. And I can't imagine Rain's too happy with Zachariah for that matter. I mean, I'm pretty sure she would have told him not to do that. You don't go against the wishes of the person who's holding your leash, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next questions are from our lovely Chris Headfit. Bedhead Chris, oh my god.
Wait, his hair
Chris Head.
Oh, that was a fun jump. There was ever one. But anyway, the question is, whose position in the company are you most surprised with? And he has a little note here, be positive, please.
Positive, he said.
Yeah.
Biggest sociopathic negative asshole on the planet that I have the pleasure of knowing and calling brother is telling me to be positive.
Yep, exactly.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go with Erin simply because this is her first Fed. This is her first time ever playing properly in a Fed. I say properly because she's promoing for a character that's actually competing. And she went out there and she won the world title.
Indeed she did.
She's taken her losses, but when it comes time to defend that title, hey, it's still around her waist. All a champion has to do to shut mouths is hold up that belt and say whose name's on it.
Yep.
What are they going to say? Well, it's not going to be for long. Yeah, how many people said that?
Yeah.
You got lucky. Yeah, you know what? After 2 or 3 times, it's not luck anymore. It's skill.
Right.
You can't retort to someone holding up the title and it having their name on it.
No.
So I'm surprised, but pleasantly so. And I think she's going to hold that title for a while.
I think so too.
The only time I think she's going to have to sweat is if Sentinel comes back.
I have to honestly say I'm honestly surprised that I've held it this long. I mean, with the exception, of the 4-way match that we just recently had, because, I mean, that was going to be a tough match in and of itself. I'm honestly surprised that with as long as Tim has been around e-vetting, that, that first title match that she had after winning it, I'm honestly surprised, that she didn't lose it to Tim, but then, that she didn't lose it to Polly, but then at the same time, he did have a lot of real life stuff come up right at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was sweating it when it came to that fatal 4-way between Aaron and Arsenal, because where everybody wrote good promos, Bethany just she hit that shit out of the park.
Oh hell yeah!
You gotta be real careful with certain people, because certain people are just solid most of the time. But every once in a while, they're just gonna hit that stride and they're gonna knock it out of the park.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really know when it's coming. Sometimes it's easy to either go into a match too confident, or to throw all your best weapons into your first promo and not have anything left to mop up.
Right.
So, when I say I'm surprised, I don't mean that as a negative statement. I'm surprised pleasantly, and I'm surprised by the level of improvement up to that point. And again, I don't see anyone right now who can take that title from her unless Sentinel comes back. Call me arrogant, but call me arrogant for saying this, and I'm just be straight up about it. She hasn't had a real challenge for that title yet. Yeah, Bethany came up and she hit a grand slam, but it wasn't enough.
No.
And Bethany's back to just doing plain old Bethany, which is still damn good.
Right.
But not a world champion. Ollie, you know what? Tim was distracted. Let's be real. But I don't think, with that particular character of his, that if he were full-on focused, he would have taken that title here. I just don't see anyone on the roster currently, from Kyle Travis on down, to take that belt from her. Granted, we haven't seen much from McBride yet, and I believe we've got some new people coming in. So far, she's safe.
So far.
And she's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else that people have to realize. She's only going to get better. That means everyone else who has their eyes on that belt is going to have to get better faster, and they're going to have to stay better. No peaks and valleys. Keep moving up to that level, and once you get there, don't just stay there. Think about how you can get higher.
Right.
Yes, it's a game, but you have to play to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next question is, if you had to compare Sentinel with any real-life celebrity, non-wrestler, who would it be?
Vin Diesel's the first person that comes to mind.
Okay.
Except for the fact that Sentinel doesn't speak. You kind of have to imagine that if he did, he would probably have the same Wrath of God voice that Vin Diesel has. Both are big, powerful-looking guys. They intimidate most people on sight. But they also have little quirks. Vin Diesel plays Dungeons and Dragons. I personally think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sentinel, he plays the ocarina surprisingly well, and he's also very good with his hands. He's good at crafting and building and putting things together. That whole room that people saw him in one of his first promos, that big workshop, he built that himself. It's those kinds of things that help flesh out a character. I mean, even Eric Donovan had something like that. Yeah, he was an Irish bastard who'd rather spit fire on you than look at you in some points of his career. But he could go in that kitchen and he could cook a meal fit for an army. I think every character needs something like that. They need something to set them apart, and it can't always be what they do.
Yeah.
Talking about celebrities, I mean, like I said, if I sat and thought about it, it would probably think it's better than Vin Diesel. But where Sentinel's concerned, he fits.
Okay, next question is, compare UWA's members to real-life wrestlers. Who reminds you of who?
Sentinel very much reminds me of his current picture base from Roman Reigns. He's the big guy. He goes out, he wrecks things, and people react to that. He doesn't need to say a lot. He just goes out there and gets it done.
Yeah.
Kyle Travis reminds me of Randy Orton. He sometimes bores me with the way he runs his mouth over and over again. We know he has the pedigree.
Yeah.
We know that he has the championship history. But he's good enough to where he shouldn't have to run his mouth like that. He should just go out and do it.
Yeah.
Brody, it's hard to put him to someone. The rich, arrogant bastard. I might put him as Ted DiBiase Jr. Back when he was playing the heel, when he was walking around with Maurice on his arm. You know, he was rich, he was damn good in the ring, and he got what he wanted. You know, he took a beating now and again, but he got the job done. It's equally hard to put Erin on somebody too. She's got a combination of people in her. People right off the bat, she reminds me of wrestlers like Jazz, big, strong, and can absolutely mess you up. The difference between her and them, I mean, this is no slight to either woman, not just because they can whip my ass, but Erin also has looks on her side. She's one of those complete packages, like Nita, or Trish, or Victoria, or even, I would even put Gail Kim in the same boat. They all are beautiful women. When they get in that ring, you forget how good they look because you're busy being amazed by how they wrestle.
Okay. Which up-and-comer do you see breaking into the main event level scene sooner rather than later within UWA?
I'm going to go with Silver Baron on that one. I like the story that he's got. He's showing some depth to his character. I think if Sangreal could translate how entertaining they are doing commentary into their promos, and maybe stop being such cocky little fops. as entertaining as that is too, it does have its chuckle factor. Then I would expect them to get tag team gold in Ultimate 5. It's kind of like Kyle Travis. They're capable, but where he's too busy focusing on his past, they're too busy being smarmy. I say if they've got that much, if they have that much snark in their system, channel it. Put everything towards winning those tag titles. And once those belts are around your waist, run your mouth like there's no tomorrow. Why? Because when someone retorts, all you have to do is hold up the belt.
True enough.
I'm next, aren't I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now pick real wrestlers who you think you'd like to see UWA stars feud with. Who and why?
Oh. Wouldn't mind seeing Erin feud with Paige. Get the whole champion versus champion thing going. I wonder how Erin would handle someone who's been wrestling 10 years but is still only 21 years old, and who has the stamina and the toughness to weather her brawling and come back to brawling of her own, and who might have a slight edge in technical submission wrestling. I think it'd be a challenge for both of them, and it'd be an awesome thing to watch in the ring. See Sangreal go up against Ryback and Curtis Axel. That would just be hilarious. I can imagine tweets and promos in the ring going back and forth, just having people in stitches. Although it'd probably be a lot funnier seeing Sangreal go against a team like that. And wow. Put Kiss in the ring against quote unquote beautiful people, just so they can kick those women's asses because I hate them. Chris can go on all day about how hot he thinks Velvet Sky is, but he's wrong.
Yeah.
Just going ahead and getting that out there. She does nothing for me. I'm a red-blooded male just like he is, but she don't get a reaction. In terms of Sentinel, I don't know who I would put him in there against. No, I take that back. I'd like to see him step in the ring with someone who can take everything he can dish out and hit him back just as hard. So you can see that realization on Sentinel's face where he goes, oh, I've got to fight. I'd like to see him in there with someone like Samoa Joe. Because you know absolutely they would beat the holy hell out of each other. And then some idiot would run in there, they'd ruin the match, and then you get the pleasure of seeing Sentinel and Joe pound them in the paste. I would pay to see that. I'd pay to see 550 pounds pissed off just unleashed on somebody. That'd be good fun.
My turn in it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what is it? Number 6, right?
Yeah.
What is your most memorable moment of your e-fighting career and why?
Eric Donovan winning his 3rd World Heavyweight title. The only title he ever held in New Era. Because while he did win 2 titles in ACW, there were things going on behind the scenes that they kind of got in the way of how special that moment could be. I'll leave it at that. In New Era, he started at the absolute bottom. They put a Hall of Famer on their roster, and he started off in the 30s. That's humility. But within the space of a year, after multiple amazing matches, after multiple attempts at titles that he lost, every single one, injuries, all kinds of intrigue outside the ring, when he himself said he was too broken to be a champion, and that the best he could hope for would be to make the champion that he was about to face look better, because he felt that was all he could do. He went out to that ring, and he took the title. He only held it for 6 weeks, but he worked in a successful title defense, and he worked in 2 other great matches in that reign before it was brought to an end by the same guy that he took the belt from. Nothing can take away the fact that everyone saw it. He went from the bottom to the top. And I think that's part of the reason why he can look back and say, I'm satisfied with what I did. And I don't have anything else. He maybe not proved it to anyone else but himself, but he proved it. And that's personally my favorite moment.
Next question is, what are your thoughts on UWA's Year 1 storyline? Everything from opening of the company until the end of Spring Slaughter.
I like how we have an overarching storyline that anyone can get in on if they choose to. We've seen a lot of good talents come in and leave, unfortunately, for whatever reason. There's been a lot of people who've come in, they've done a match or 2, and they've filtered out. But right around now, we're starting to get a really good core of people. You know, guys like Kyle Travis, like Fraser Freeman, like Silver Baron, Arsenal. We have our world champion, we have our North American champion. Sooner or later, we're going to have tag team champions and a television champion as well. Everybody seems to have something going on, and there's also stuff that seems to be going on the periphery. These guys who've shown up for the last 2 shows seem to have some kind of issue with children. This protector guy running around jumping evil backstage. There's a little something for everyone, and if there's anybody in the company right now who feels like they don't have anything going on, then all I can say is get off your ass. Because there is plenty out there to play with.
Hell yeah.
And this year is far from over.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Now, Freeman wants to know, when are you bringing Sentinel back?
You know, if I manage to reach a point where I feel comfortable coming back, I would say that it would be maybe a year. Yeah, I hate to put a number to it at all, because you just don't know when you're going to feel right. kind of thing you can turn on and off. Being extremely optimistic, maybe 6 months, but I don't know. He may not make it back. I hope that he does. I hope that I find that drive again and I come back in here and I take that Silent Destroyer all the way to the World Heavyweight title. Because I believe if I'm at my best, I can do it. But until I feel that 100%, I can't give a concrete number.
And the lucky last question is the most awkward one out of a lot of them. Thanks to T, she came up with this question. If you could choose any person in UWA to wake up next to, who would it be and why? Well, handler and character.
Oh, handler and character.
Yep.
Well, okay, well, let's go with the easy one. Character is going to be Skylar. I didn't think it was possible that I could find someone in wrestling more attractive than my personal favorites like Daphne and Mischief and AJ. But once Paige showed up, sorry girls, you're all moving down a spot.
I agree.
I don't know who's in number 10 and fell off the bottom, but I'm sure they're not happy. I'm sure they don't care. All I know is Skylar has the hottest picture face in the whole company right now, and yeah.
I agree. Skylar is fucking hot.
I know good and damn well that Paige is too young for me. Okay?
Age is just a number.
13 years older than she is. That's going to get me dirty looks.
Oh well.
Plus her mom's a wrestler and her mom would probably kick my ass too.
This is true. Yeah, she's pretty scary too.
If you're talking about handlers now, I've only got a couple to choose from. No offense to the guys, but if you're carrying the same thing I am down there, you're not my type. Just saying. And I don't want to wake up next to my sister because that would be creepy.
Yeah.
The only way it could not be creepy is if we were both drinking and we just happened to fall down at the same spot.
Yeah, true.
Because then you got no damn choice.
This is true.
So that dubious honor, I guess it goes to you, Selena.
Aw. You're the second person to choose me, so...
Well, I know you, and I know you won't try anything.
This is true.
And you know me, and you know I won't try anything.
Yep, we're both safe.
We'll just say, since this never happened, I'm gonna go make some bacon.
As long as you're making bacon for me.
As long as I'm baking, bacon cures everything.
Yeah, always. Do we have any other questions you want to add, T?
Not right off the top of my head.
Anything you want to add, Shane?
At this point, I think it's a couple of hours too late for a disclaimer.
Yeah.
If they're
maybe
still
3 hours too late.
And if they're still listening at this point, then I just need to check the window for the glow of pitchforks and torches.
Well, they'll have to find your place first.
Yeah, and all I have to do is make T have a bad day, and she'll say, "Oh, just down the block and around the corner, have fun."
That's true. That's true.
That's after I have my fun first.
Oh, and T has her fun. Okay,
Are
fair enough. I guess
you worried now?
No.
No?
I'm not worried at all. Bring it on. Hey, I don't get hype, I stay hype.
Oh, really?
Fun.
Really?
Fun.
What can I say? That guy's entertaining.
This is
They
true.
can harp on They can harp on his wrestling ability all they want, but when he comes out, it's exciting.
Yeah. So he's decided to add his voice to the podcast.
Hey, that works for me. Kitty kitty!
Oh, no, he's gonna go eat now.
Ah.
Just one random meow, that's it. That's all you get out of him.
Right?
Oh, do you want to do the honours of the outro, T?
Sure. Well, this has been fun, ladies and gentlemen. Shane, thank you for helping come and fix the snafu that happened with the recording of the first one.
Always a pleasure.
They won't even know.
I think my attempts to make it shorter failed.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
It happened for 3 hours.
Yeah, right?
Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. Selena, again, it's always been a pleasure whenever we actually get a chance to do these together.
Always. Yeah. Hopefully we can do them more often.
Yes, I know. Depending on how things go, here relatively soon in the future with me, I'm hoping to be around on the weekends more often.
Yay!
On behalf of Selena and myself, T, thank you for listening in, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.